The thing I realized about most people in life, most of us, we need constant reminders. No different than a professional athlete. Yeah, the athlete is a professional athlete. However, it needs coaches around them to be able to look at all of the mistakes that they're making while they are in the game. And so with that has to come timeouts. With that has to come constant intervention, which is reminders. And recently I was reading one of Neville Goddard's books and I had the reminder of the year. But before I get into today's video, as always, I want to let you guys know if you want to work with Tim and myself and our SP program, the link is always in the description below or in the comments below. Or if you would like to work with myself in regards to other topics around manifestation, don't hesitate to reach out to yours truly. I was recently reading Neville Goddard's Your Faith is Your Fortune. And one of the quotes from that book stood out to me so much because I realized most people are missing the point when it comes to manifestation, especially when it comes to manifesting a specific person. And let me say this, I don't blame a lot of you. Why? Because when you go on YouTube, there are so many videos out there regurgitating the same information, telling you this is what you have to do to get them to conform. This is how to make them obsessed with you. This is how you should do sats. And what ends up happening is you guys start to say affirmations and do sats techniques around making your SP the focal point instead of making yourself the focal point. And guess what? Neville Goddard agrees with me because he said the following: change your conception of yourself and you will automatically change the world in which you live. Do not try to change people. They are only messengers telling you who you are. Revalue yourself and they will confirm the change. Is that not the reminder of the year so far? You know, when I watch YouTube and when I work with clients, the thing that I realize that most of the clients that I work with, a lot of you, and understandably so, let me add that, understandably so I'm not judging you, but a lot of you have it backwards. A lot of you are approaching LOA. I need to change my specific person. They need to do X, Y, and Z in order for me to feel loved. I need to get them back. I need to dedicate a whole routine to making them different, to making them better. I'm putting them on a pedestal. I'm only learning LOA because of them. I'm not learning LOA for myself. I'm not learning LOA to get better. I'm learning LOA just so I can strictly manifest a person back. And you're missing the whole point if that is the reason for doing this stuff. A lot of people, especially in the beginning of their journey, they say things like,
how can I get them to conform? What are the affirmations that I gotta say?
And you fall in love with those affirmations and you fall in love with the teachers or the coaches that are teaching you, hey, listen, you got to say affirmations like this.
My SP easily conforms to me. They always conform with me. My SP constantly texts me. My SP misses me all the time. My SP is texting me right now. My SP, my SP, my SP, my SP, my SP.
Do you see how it's easy to get caught up in the trap of thinking, oh, I'm doing affirmations or I'm doing sats, but you're doing it all about your SP to try to get them to change. These techniques are not going to force your SP to change. And if it does force your SP to change, it's only going to be temporarily, most likely. I'm willing to bet, I'll bet anything that 90+% of the time, if you do see a change in your person, it is only going to be temporary. It is not going to be long lasting. Why? Because of what Neville Goddard just said. This is why I constantly say to you guys, go to the source. These coaches have their place, but a lot of times, if you go to the source, you will get the right information and you will be reminded of what really has to be done. And you won't fall into these traps of making your SP the focal point instead of making yourself the focal point. Neville Goddard just said in that quote, change the conception of yourself and you will automatically change the world in which you are in. When you change the conception of yourself, the world will raise its standards naturally to meet this new version of yourself. Do not try to change people. Do not use these affirmations by saying,
oh, my SP is madly in love with me. My SP constantly texts me. My SP always wants me. They desire me more than anything in the world.
Do not use those types of affirmations to try to change your specific person, because that's what a lot of you are doing right now. You're trying to change your SP by putting all of that energy and effort into using those affirmations. That is working harder, not smarter, in my opinion. And over here on this side, we like to work smarter. Do not try to change people. They're only messengers telling you who you are. Revalue yourself and they will confirm the change. You ever wonder to yourself why you keep attracting certain people? Why do I keep attracting the same guy, different name, different face, different skin color? Why do I keep attracting the same woman, different face, different hair, different skin color, but the attitude and the version is all the same in all of those men or in all of those women? Because they are messengers. Those men that are toxic or those women that are toxic, they are messengers telling you who you are being, telling you the level of frequency that you are operating at. I heard a great quote recently, and the quote said, a lot of people have a lot of to-do lists, but what we need is we need a lot less to-do lists and we need a lot more to-be lists. Who are we being? In any given moment, you need to ask yourself, who is it that I am being in this moment right now while I'm watching this video? Who am I going to be after I get done watching this video? Who am I going to be later tonight when I do whatever activities? Who am I going to be tomorrow when I wake up? Who am I going to be when I go to sleep? Who am I going to be next week, next month, for the rest of this year? Who am I being? We don't need to-do lists. We need to be lists. Be that version of yourself that's 5 years from now or 10 years from now that has everything. I've said this in my past videos. Be that version of yourself that puts you first in a healthy way, not a narcissistic way, but a healthy way. Be that person that says affirmations like, I love myself. I am worthy of love. I deserve love. I am a loving person. Everybody respects me. I add value in all my relationships. Be the person that says those types of affirmations, not someone that says affirmations where your SP is coming first and you're putting them on a pedestal and you're making them the focal point. Because again, that's not how lasting change occurs, in my opinion. Can it for some people? Absolutely. But I think it's a lot more work if you do it that way and do it the way that I'm getting ready to explain right now and in the process of explaining. So many of you out there, unintentionally, in my opinion, are missing the point. Point is, it's never about the SP. The point is always, as Tim likes to say, you are the SP. The way you miss and love your SP, that's how you got to miss and love yourself. You should be trying to manifest your old self back, meaning you should be trying to manifest yourself as a kid, the love that you had as a kid. You should be trying to manifest that love that you had or felt when you were a teenager for yourself, or the love that you felt and lost when you were an adult. You should be trying to manifest you back, because you are the real SP. You are the real old SP that you need to somehow get back in touch with and learn how to love again and be there for. Neville clearly says, change the conception of yourself. That is how you change people. People say, oh, my SP's not doing what I want them to do. They're not saying what I want them to say. They're not committing how I want them to commit. How do I change them? You change them by putting yourself first. You change them by making this all about you. A lot of people come up with a routine and they're doing these techniques, but they're only coming up with the routine and doing the techniques just for their person. They're doing a sad to end scene just for their person. They're doing a visualization or affirmations just for their person. What if you took all of that energy and instead of doing it for them, you did it for yourself? What kind of change would that make? I'll tell you what kind of change it's going to make. You're going to raise up to here on a frequency level, and the world is going to jump up to meet you at that frequency. Because right now, you're down here on this level trying to manifest somebody back. And that's why it's extremely hard, because you're down here and you're vibrating from that level, and you are using words and you're using your techniques from that level. And you're not using the words and techniques from a level up here of this new version of you. You're assuming from down here instead of assuming from up here. And the way that you get to up here and assume up here is by, when you're down here, you make it all about you. You don't make it about another person, because Neville clearly just gave you the answer. You need to change the conception of yourself. And then once you do that, the world is going to mirror back to you exactly how you feel. That person that was mean to you, all of a sudden is not going to be mean anymore. That person that hated you, that resented you for whatever reason, all of a sudden they're not going to do that anymore. And I know this because I've done it personally in my own life, as well as helped other people do it, especially with the Ho'oponopono. That's one of the key things, that when people do that, they can see significant changes in an SP or in any other relationship, whether it's family, friends, whatever. But why did it work? Because on an energetic level, they focused on themselves. They changed themselves. They forgave themselves. They fell in love with themselves. And this is why you have to stop putting your person first. Stop doing affirmations centered around your person. Stop saying, oh, I'm only doing this just so I can get a person back. No, you're missing the point. The point is never about them. The point is always about you. You don't need to 1,000 times a day say,
my SP is constantly thinking about me. My SP conforms to me. My SP constantly wants me. My SP constantly texts me.
You don't need to do any of that. Because also something that Neville said is, Neville preached about vain repetition and how it won't work most likely. But again, so many of you follow what's popular, you follow what's trendy, and you say, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to try this, and it doesn't fit your style, and you don't do what works for you. Reading this Neville quote was a huge, huge revelation for me. And this is why I constantly have reminders for myself. And this is why I constantly go back and read Neville or reread any of these great teachers. It is so easy to just get lost in the sauce and to forget what everybody is doing, even in the midst of working with people. I had this huge aha moment reading this quote, and I said to myself, Everybody's doing this wrong. Everybody is approaching manifesting an SP from the wrong angle. They're doing it backwards. They're not changing their concept. They're trying to say affirmations to change their person. And all of the Neville lovers out there, he clearly says, change your self concept, and then other people will mirror that back to you. Again, this is easier said than done. So don't be hard on yourself. Give yourself grace, because so many people, they think, oh, I am changing my self concept. How come I haven't seen anything yet? Because oftentimes I see people in this community, they say, how come I'm getting movement with X, Y, and Z over here, but I'm not getting movement with what I want over here? And it's because these things over here, you don't have a bunch of resistance around those things. But this one issue over here, or your specific person over here, you have a lot of resistance around that area. These A, B, and C over here, nothing is tainted as far as what you're going through over there. And you are telling yourself, oh, this is easy. You're telling yourself, oh, I'm going through something with my friend or my mom or whoever. This is just a regular Tuesday to us. But over here, you're telling yourself, oh, this is different. I don't know if this is the same. I don't know if they're going to come back from this, because this isn't just a regular Tuesday for me over here with this person. So you're magnifying it. But the trick is you're falling into the delusion of what your mind is telling you, because it really is no difference. There is no difference between A, B, and C over here and what's really going on with you and your specific person. The difference is the story you're telling yourself about the situation. And that is where the delusion comes in. There is no delusion. Whatever you're going through over here, it's just as easy to solve that, just like it's just as easy to solve this over here with your specific person. It's the same. Again, once you change, most likely they will change. Let me tell you most likely what's going to happen once you change your self concept about yourself. One, your SP and everybody else around you most likely is going to change. That is one of the outcomes. Number two, an outcome that could happen is things could fade from your life harmoniously. What do I mean by that? Once you change the way you view yourself, the world has no choice but to meet you to that level. And everything that does not meet you at that level will fade from your life. And yes, that means relationships, friendships, family, etc. You are no longer the person that you were down here. So what that means is when you change and you elevate up here, people are going to be left behind. And that could mean your SP is left behind. That could be family and friends are left behind. But if they are not left behind, the good news is most likely they will rise up to meet you at this new level of consciousness that you are, and they will show up how you want them to show up. So that should be really good news for all of you out there. Because I know from my life, a lot of you are struggling with having the conversation. I don't know if I can have this conversation with my friend or my family member or my SP. I don't know how it's going to happen. I tell you how it's going to happen. You don't need to know how that conversation is going to happen, because when you change your self conception, as Neville is saying, that conversation is naturally going to take place without you knowing how it's going to happen. You are going to rise up here to be this person because you change your self image so much. People are naturally going to either rise up, they're going to fade from your life. And those conversations, the universe will move the chess piece in order for those conversations to happen in a natural, harmonious way. And that decision will be made naturally, or you will realize, oh, they just faded from my life, because I know in my personal life, I've had people where they just naturally faded from my life. I didn't even have to have the conversation with them. Stuff just naturally happened. We just naturally fell out of touch. It just felt natural and easy. And then there were some situations in my life where having the conversation was extremely easy, because the conversation was brought up in a natural way, where the person most likely will bring up the conversation. And then that's when you have it with them. Remember, in all your travels and all your journeys, people you come in contact with are always communicating to you who you are being. Think about Abdullah. When Abdullah went out in public, everybody knew, I don't know who this guy is, but his presence is saying something to me. And that is because of who Abdullah was being. Abdullah would be in public. He would go to public places at a time during segregation, and people wouldn't even think twice. They would just let him sit wherever he wanted. He would do whatever he wanted, even though most people that looked like him were not allowed to do that. But Abdullah walked with this knowing because of how he saw himself, and it worked. And he projected that onto other people, and people felt it, and they had no choice but to capitulate to how he was being. So that's why it always comes back to who you are being. And when you see people treating you a certain way, that is your signal. Okay, I got to look at who I'm being right now. Why am I getting treated this way in public? Why am I being treated this way by my specific person or anybody else? Okay, it's time to reflect. It's time to sit down and get back in alignment and look at myself to determine, who am I being right now? Who was I being when I got into that argument with my person? Who was I being when I got disrespected in public by a complete stranger? Who was I being? Once you make that change, you will see stuff start to harmoniously get into alignment, and you will find yourself time after time not getting into these conflicts anymore. Like I recently said in one of my most recent videos, you really are only 30 days away from seeing movement with your person. And it's all going to be dependent upon, are you willing to change yourself first instead of trying to change them? To do Ho'oponopono for yourself first, to do a sat scene for yourself first. Because this is the exact route that I took. When I had manifested contact all of those years ago from an SP to test Neville's Law out to see if it really works, before I did that, I put myself first. My routine was self love first and foremost all the time before I tried to manifest any specific person back. I did self love. I had a self love routine. And then once I finished my self love routine, then I went into doing my sat scene. But I didn't even think about touching a sat scene before I did my self love and to realize I was the real SP. Once I did that, the shift happened. And the shift is going to happen for you, in my opinion, once you do that. If you've been struggling for months, not getting any movement, it feels like. But I'm here to tell you that ain't gonna happen no more. Ain't gonna happen no more. Because this was the reminder and the wake-up call you needed to finally love yourself and to put yourself first and to rise and to become that person that you always seen yourself being. And the gift in return is everybody's gonna treat you as such.